Welcome to yet another episode of Nerds with Badges. This is day 7 of my videos that I'm making to promote my comic book DragonManx, my Kickstarter campaign for my comic book. I'm just getting my voice back. I guess I need more tea with lemon and honey. I was in Florida a few days ago, and I went to Universal Studios. They have this attraction called Halloween Horror Nights, and there were people leaping out at us and from around every corner, and all the yelling and screaming and constantly talking. Because me and my nephew that I went with, we were like super nerds or blurds. So we were catching up on stuff going on in comic books and video games, and man, by the time I got home, I had like no voice. So I am still in recovery. I got in last night. I got back into LA. I guess it was about 8:30, and I was kind of freaked out when I got to the airport because I was looking at my phone. Well, not my phone. My phone has killed my phone. That's a whole nother conversation. But my tablet was still saying the time for Florida, because there's a 3 hour time difference between 3 hour time difference between LA and Florida. So I was a little confused when I got back. I was like, wait a minute, it can't be 11:30. It's supposed to be earlier than that. So anyway, so I just kind of like pissed because the trip, basically I had 2 casualties from the trip. This is like the third time I've had an issue with an electronic device when I went back to Florida to visit my mother. Last year, I always go during Halloween. So I went last year, and I had like a Lenovo, tablet PC hybrid thing, and it has like a tablet. It's a tablet, and you connect the keyboard to it. So anyway, I bought a battery. I think last year I bought for my Steam Deck, and so I was trying to test the battery out, and I plugged it into my laptop, and I think I plugged it in the wrong plug or something. But anyway, it fried the laptop, so I left that laptop there in Florida with the intent of one day just maybe just picking it up, picking it up when I go back and having them shipping it to some place to repair. But I may just have my mother do it for me. So anyway, this time around, I'm in Florida a few days ago, and my Steam Deck started doing this weird thing. I was playing Vampire the Masquerade, and it just I finished a match and I started playing another match, and then the game crashed. And I kept getting this message about an error on the screen, and it kept the screen would say that message, and then it would just go black, and it would come back. So it was turned itself off and on trying to do the update, and it kept saying there wasn't enough storage. So I couldn't get past that screen. So Steam Deck is just like down. So I didn't even bring it back home with me. I just left it. It was just more weight for me. But anyway, when I was at Halloween Horror Nights, I had my phone in my pocket with a packet of wipes, and I guess I had the wipes upside down or something. The package spilt the liquid, and it got in my pocket, and it got on my phone. So my phone is like not doing anything. My phone is just where's my phone? Oh, yeah. Here's my phone. I can shake it, and the flashlight comes on. Well, that's all it can do. Just a flashlight. I press the button. I don't even know if it's, well, I guess it's on now, but I try to turn it off. There's like no indication that it's actually on or off. But the screen was trying to come on, but it was all like looking all weird and discolored. So I might try to open it up, because a quick and easy thing would be just to go back to Target and just get another damn phone. Because I just feel so, without having a phone, man. It was just, I ordered some food today, and I just it was just kind of like I had to go downstairs and wait for the person. And then I was trying to retrieve I had to retrieve my DoorDash account since I was using it on another device. And sometimes they ask you to like receive like a notification on your phone or something. It's like, oh my god. But the SIM card and the micro SD card that I had inside the phone, they were both wet when I took them out. So I dried them out. And everybody said just put the phone in some rice. And I've seen some different solutions online, putting it inside of silica beads or something. So anyway, my phone is not working, so I don't know if I can just wait till my next payday comes around and get another phone, or just go ahead and just try to just go ahead and just do it right now and just bite the bullet, as they say. I guess I could go 2 weeks without having a phone. I mean, my other stuff works, but it just sucks. Steam Deck is down, phone is down, laptop, I still have to get that fixed. And on top of that, I have a PlayStation 4 that I have still yet to get repaired. And then my iPod, I haven't got that fixed yet. So anyway, enough of my technical woes. So like I said, this is day 7. And I had some things on my mind that I wanted to talk about, because the DragonManx, the mythos, just the history of this character, is just so many different things going on. I had this idea of doing a video game at some point, and I think that maybe I can learn how to do some of this stuff myself instead of hiring other people to do it, because it would just save me so much money. But I do think a DragonManx game, it would be really cool. And I've seen other video games do like origin stories, but I really want to go into like DragonManx's past, because it's like really crazy. So you have this kid who's born in like ancient Egypt, and so he lived in ancient Egypt for a while, maybe 5 or 6 years, and then he gets put in like suspended animation somewhere and hidden from his father Anubis, because Anubis wants DragonManx to be his heir, and Bastet, the cat goddess, she has her own plans for DragonManx. So she puts him in suspended animation and hides him somewhere from his dad. It's like a lot of different things in the character's origin that I need to flesh out. Things that I haven't really gone into detail with in any of the stories. But DragonManx he like has these dreams, and like for the longest he didn't know why he was dreaming about Egypt. Then he found out that he wasn't just, he wasn't really dreaming, he's actually remembering, because he had a life in Egypt for 6 years. So he remembers pyramids and all those things, and he has a fascination with Egyptian culture, and he's always had that, and just kind of wondered why. But it was because he actually lived in that time period, and that is why he has this fascination for that time period, and even able to speak some of the languages at that time. So like I can do some really cool things with those stories, and so a video game I could see be really cool to be able to go back in time, then even go up into his when he's a teenager. Like he experienced some trauma when he was a kid, when his powers really, really, really fully manifested. He was in a situation where he was getting bullied, and he threw some guys through a glass window, and it was like that was when he was recruited because of his powers. Got this music going in the background here. I want to have some music in the background, and I do have a radio in my house that stays on a classical station all the time. I think it's KUSC, but that music is like, it's not public domain. So I went on YouTube and did some research, and there's like music that you can use that is, it's like no copyrights on it. Let us pray, because there used to be a time when you could post videos with music and you didn't have to worry about stuff. But now they have robots that they can identify the music, and then your video could get blocked or muted. So I'm hoping that this music that's supposed to be in YouTube's library, their audio library, hopefully that music is indeed royalty free, because I would hate to be doing a video and then find out that it's muted. So anyway, back to DragonManx, the story. So I used to write a lot of stories about DragonManx when I first started working as a security guard here in Los Angeles. I wrote a bunch of stories, short stories, mostly about DragonManx, but at the time he was called Manx, like the cat, Manx. So Manx worked for this organization called Agenda. He had this like father-son relationship with the head of the company, Agenda, which is, I probably mentioned it before, but I don't mind saying it again. Agenda is like, I was inspired by watching shows like The $6 Million Man, The Bionic Woman when I was a kid, and there was an organization that they worked for called OSI that was like dealt with like security, national security, and sometimes they would deal with like supernatural stuff. So Agenda, this organization that is run with cooperation from the United Nations, they recruit people that have powers in my universe. They also recruit people with powers to work with them to go on special missions. So Satel Mirandus is this liaison between the supernatural world and the regular world, and he also takes his orders from the United Nations. So whereas someone like DragonManx is considered by some as like a weapon, he's still a person who has feelings and feelings and dreams and things. And Satel Mirandus, who is initially reluctant to accept supernatural beings because of some trauma that he experienced, ends up becoming like a father figure to DragonManx. And then I just thought it was cool that the $6 Million Man, Steve Austin, had this really cool relationship with Oscar Goldman, his boss. So that inspired me to have my character have that kind of relationship with his boss. So they don't always have like the perfect relationship, just like any parents, you're gonna butt heads sometimes. But Satel Mirandus was a man of Mexican descent who spoke with a thick Mexican accent, and now Satel's race has just fluctuated, really. I think when I did my first web series and I introduced Satel, he was played by a guy. Oh my God, I can't remember his name. It was so terrible. But he was Hispanic, and it's very almost like racially ambiguous. But I think don't get me started lying, but he may have been possibly from Puerto Rico, but I can't even remember. But it was really, really good casting. So I don't want to be guilty of the thing that Hollywood does sometimes when they will change the race of people. Sometimes they do it, and I understand why it happens sometimes. It's like, I don't know, sometimes it's just kind of like in Supergirl, for example, they have an Italian lady playing a Mexican lady, and it's just kind of like, you couldn't find a Mexican actress to play. I mean, I know you're supposed to be an actor, you're supposed to be to take on different characters and all that, but I just thought that was odd. And many times over the years, they will whitewash characters in movies, even when it's biographies. They will do that. And sometimes in comic books, it becomes a thing too. So I don't want to, I would definitely want to stick with the original vision for Satel Mirandus when I do bring him back into the live action. Trying to think of some other characters that I might have. That may be changing. I might have changed the race or even the sex. I think originally, when I started my web series, one director I worked with wanted to change the sex of Devin, actually, and have Devin be a girl. I didn't want to go that route though. I mean, it would have been interesting to have the boss, of DragonManx and all these other characters to be a strong lady character. But I think I did a good job with the female representation with some of the other stuff. That's another conversation. We say that for the next time. Because I've talked before about having 4 different web series going on at one time, and it was always my plan to do 4 web series and have them all come together as in one big movie. But when you're doing stuff with superheroes and people with powers and stuff, you really want to do it right. I look back at some of the stuff that I did with DragonManx and some of the other characters, and some of it I just honestly have a hard time going back and watching, because I know at the time we were doing the best that we could with what we had as far as resources go, and I shouldn't be so hard on myself. But some of the story elements, some of the writing is just kind of all over the place in some of the episodes. So doing a soft reboot, which is what I'm doing, is like it's a good way for me to just kind of like move past that stuff. I mean, it's like I'm not gonna take it off of YouTube, but some of those story elements I will revisit, because there are some stories that were never resolved. So I can go back and revisit some of those stories and retell them the way that I would, better. Because sometimes you go back and you do something again and you do it better than you did the first time around. So there are definitely some stories that were unresolved, some plots that I established, and they were not resolved with some of those characters. But it was always my goal to have everyone come together in one big grand adventure. And I know it's going to take me a while to get to that point. It may be another 5 or 6 years before I can actually do that full length film and do it justice. Have a decent enough budget to do the types of special effects, different locations. And they do say that you're not supposed to be thinking about this stuff when you're writing, but I do. I do think about this stuff. I do think in terms, not all the time, but I do think sometimes when I'm writing, like, well, this is going to be hard to do. Maybe we should do it this way to be better. It would just be more practical to do this. Just like there's scenes that I might want to shoot in a different city, but it might make more sense if I don't have to be in another city to shoot certain scenes. Or maybe instead of doing this kind of special effect, we can do this kind of special effect. I mean, it's still superpowers, it's still cool, but it won't cost us. We'll spend like maybe 2,000 as opposed to spending 4,000, because special effects can take some time to do. That's something I would also like to learn more about as time goes by. There's nothing better, than being like a jack of all trades. Somebody like Prince who could play 27 instruments. It'd be really cool if I could edit my own stuff, film my own stuff, do my own special effects, score everything, and then there's the business aspect of it all, which is, kind of, I feel like I'm being kind of forced to learn more about this stuff, but it's better. It's better that way, I think, because then you have like less chance of getting screwed over. If you know the ins and outs of stuff. But man, it could be a headache trying to do all this stuff to balance everything. But DragonManx is kind of like the Batman character, I guess you could say, of my universe. He's a stealth character who can also be quite bombastic, you know, with his power set. And one thing that I don't want to do is I don't want to have characters that are just like OP. But I think the fact that right now DragonManx's powers are fluctuating is a good. It gives me. I mean, it makes it easier to write about characters that have clear limitations. You have some characters like Superman, for example. It's always magic or kryptonite, but you have TV shows like Superman and Lois, which really they I think the writing is so good, it balances the family dynamic. Then you have like really good supporting characters, and I think that Superman, his maybe his real weakness is his family's connections. So, but with good writing, I guess you can get around the whole it's either kryptonite or magic, or somebody else is as strong as he is, like Doomsday. But they did introduce Doomsday just recently. That's a great show, by the way. You should definitely watch Superman and Lois if you don't watch it. It's on HBO Max or CW now, I think. I think they have some episodes on CW, then they eventually move over to Max to kind of like hook you in, make you subscribe, I guess, because they don't have the whole series on CW. They used to, but they moved it over to Max. So DragonManx, I figure we could do about 10 to 12 issues just to tell the whole complete story, because it is a long story. This particular arc is quite lengthy, because you start off with these kids being attacked by these teddy bears and in their dreams, and then there's other characters that are introduced, and they all have interesting backstories. So there's a lot of material there, and I probably said this before, but the DragonManx novel, which this comic book is based upon, it was never finished. I have not finished the novel yet that I started writing like 3 or 4 years ago. So as I'm doing the comic, I will also be, doing new stuff with the story, coming up with things, because I have not finished the novel. I got stuck at some point. What I should have done, it was to write, I think it would have made more sense for me to just write everything as like chapters, because then all this happens in this chapter and all this happens in the next chapter, and there's like multiple characters. So it may be a good idea for me to consider something I've done before with my stories. I've worked with ghostwriters before. I don't do it all the time, but sometimes it helps when you have a team that's working on things. So I think the first issue should be done, should be ready for print sometime before the year is out. I will definitely print a number of copies to be sure. I just don't know exactly how many, because if people are buying a lot of stuff digitally nowadays, people are buying things physically as well. But I don't want to have like boxes of DragonManx comic books sitting around. What is this music that they're playing now? Oh my god, ugh, that's like the worst background music. It sounds like the music before you go to commercial, which is a good cue for me to end this video for day 7. I think my voice is going again. I go back to work on Monday, and it's gonna be interesting going back to work after being off for like 10 days. I gotta do the 9 to 5 thing just a little bit longer, but probably by the time I start doing more live action stuff, it's having a 9 to 5 job might not be an option. And hopefully by then I'll just be able to do more creative stuff full time as a source of income, because it does it can be exhausting having a 9 to 5 job when you're doing creative stuff. There's like some people that do creative stuff don't really have regular jobs, but you gotta. There's nothing like being depressed because you don't have money coming in. I mean, you can. It's rough when you're working somewhere where you might not be completely happy with it, but it's always good to have some kind of income coming in. And if you can find a job that's good benefits, yeah, hold on to it. So I will talk more when I do another video about some of the other characters that DragonManx interacts with in his connected universe, such as Satchwatch, my cartoons, that I'm working on. Like I'm working on the Sasquatch cartoon. I'll talk about that tomorrow, and also Sins of Legend and Sons of Legend. So I want to talk more about all those characters and their different relationships with DragonManx. Because like I said, I see him like as a Batman type character. He's a character that people just, everybody just respects. He's a mysterious kind of character, central character. But one thing about DragonManx is that he can work as a team with other characters. It's like sometimes when I see Batman or Wolverine or Thor and they're hanging out with the other characters, I'm like, I don't know if they would be doing that so much, because some of these characters are more like, they're more loners, I think, especially Wolverine. But Batman, I remember him telling the Justice League early on that I'm not joining you, but I will always be there when you need me, and you will. So it's like I see DragonManx as a character like that. That's just kind of off on his own most of the time, but he can come together and work with the other characters when they need him, and they have a connection with each other. So so they know him, but he's like a specialist character, like Constantine. If you have a supernatural problem dealing with magic or something, then you would go to DragonManx for help. And I think that's about it for now. It is. Usually I would just look at my phone and see what time it is, but I can't even do that anymore. So yeah, so that's my. I just wanted to do a video. This video ended up being much longer than I had anticipated doing, but I am dedicated to doing videos because I think it's a good way to build a connection with the artist and the audience. I mean, how can you support someone if you don't really, know how they vibe? So, like I said, this is a video for now, for today, day number 7 for my Kickstarter for the DragonManx comic book. And I'll be back with some more videos. So we got like 24 more days to go. I definitely would like to show some of my artwork too, because I've got a lot of it. Got a lot of like early DragonManx stuff, so you can see the evolution of the character and how I arrived at his iteration now, because DragonManx definitely went through a lot of evolutions. As I mentioned before, it was just Manx, and then it was Alpha Manx, and now it's DragonManx. So I will break out some of my old artwork at some point and give you like a little time capsule of the DragonManx character. So I will see you again tomorrow with another video. And this is day 7 of my Kickstarter campaign for my DragonManx comic. Thank you so much for your time.